It has been a dream of mine for years to own a corner house in a cul-de-sac and of course with a double garage. So join me on this episode of the new house purchase. I've got plenty things to be getting on with on this house, but the first thing is the front garden area. It'd been shingled and unfortunately it's gone very patchy. So a quick trip to Wickes, I ended up grabbing a couple of bags, threw down a load of weed killer and then laid out the new shingle. Now unfortunately, as you see here, 6 or 7 bags really didn't go far at all, but off camera I actually ended up going back and buying even more and it actually looks fantastic. But yeah, we're going to start going through the real quick to-do list on the front of the house and then it'll be on to the exciting bit, the office. The front guttering outside the garage also needed attention as it was looking very much like a flower bed. Now, I don't know how long this has been left abandoned for, but thankfully it wasn't a terrible job to lift all the guttering up and clear it out. I think the problem is it doesn't have a great run on it, so it doesn't run directly into the gutter with good fall. So yeah, we might need to look at that later on, but for now give it a good deep clean and hopefully we don't get any water backfilling into the garage, which it doesn't look like it's done already because there's no watermarks there, but you just never know, especially once all the toys are in place. Now I promised the missus I wouldn't start on the garage first because if I did, I was never going to get the rest of the house done. So let's make our way inside and tackle the first room, my new office, the editing area, the place I'm going to probably spend most of my time realistically. So it wasn't in a terrible state in there, it's just a bit bland, a bit dated, and I'm not really sure what's going on with the floor tile decision, but given the cost of everything else we're purchasing in the house, that's going to have to stay for the time being. Thankfully, it was only going to be a bit of cosmetic work for this room. It really didn't need destruction and anything redoing, thankfully. The weird thing with this room though is it actually has no ceiling lights. It's all got wall lights all the way around it. But as you find out a little bit later on, I managed to find what I think is actually a really good solution to give some nice background lighting for when I'm editing. Absolutely awesome to have electric garage doors. Well, yeah, that's what I thought, but then I realised they're actually quite narrow. So we'll be replacing these at a later date for a roller shutter style one, which gives me about 4 inches either side. I can get the E46 in there, but it's a bit tight. But anyway, let's turn the power off and start removing these lights. The lights currently fitted had a large round base and the new ones I'd bought online, which would hopefully turn up any day now, were stick thin. So I needed to remove the old lights and then make sure any holes either side were filled because these new lights were going to be about 20-25mm wide, which meant any imperfections on the wall would be clearly visible behind the light, but you'll see more shortly. Whilst armed with the filler, I also went round and filled any other holes that were on the walls from the curtains, pictures that had been hung previously because I wasn't going to use any of the existing points. And thankfully, the new lights turned up and I'm absolutely thrilled with these. I think they're about £20-25 a light, LED, really nice low light, gives a nice glow in the background. But I think these are going to look fantastic in those evenings when it's dark out and you want like a nice warm, cosy feeling to the office. With the filler dried and sanded, it was finally time to begin the painting. And I'm going to be honest, I absolutely hate painting houses. I find it so tedious and boring. So with a good music playlist on, let's let the work begin. Now, thankfully, I didn't need to paint the ceiling as it was in really good order. But the coving on the top, yeah, had some marks and stuff. So I needed to start that with the white. And then once that was completed, I could then go on to doing the grey, which was going to be the majority of the colour for the room. Me and the missus did a midweek run to IKEA for some meatballs and inspiration, and I picked up some picture frames whilst I was there as well. Now, with the feature wall, again, this will make more sense shortly, is I wanted a load of pictures from all the track days and bits we'd done with the cars and bikes, and then below it, a motorcycle. Finally, a bike in the house. With the wall being plasterboard, no specialist drilling equipment was required, and it was actually really satisfying getting all those picture frames up, and pretty good value from IKEA. I think they're like £7 or £8 each, and they've got like that depth box to them and the perspex on the front. So really pleased with those for the money. And with that completed, we can then move on to sorting out the lights, getting the brackets in position, and then on to the final paint. With the painting all complete, we get our first look at all the lights on, which I'm absolutely thrilled with, and the colours itself. I really like the grey and the red. What do you guys reckon? Have I done a good job here? Well, let me know in the comments. But with that completed, we had to go and get some bits from the previous property, which I'd had in the garage, just to really give it that petrol head edge. For those of you that don't know, I'm big into my Renault Sports, and I had a coffee table for one in my old house many years ago from a car that unfortunately dropped a valve head and completely obliterated the engine and cylinder head. But it still could be turned into a wonderful coffee table. Now, the property I was first moved into with my partner, she was not interested in having that in the house at all, which I understand. It's an acquired taste having petrol head furniture, but now I have my own office space. We were going to need to give this a good clean up, little TLC, and get it ready for moving into the new office. With the TLC completed on the coffee table and looking absolutely fantastic, my missus has kindly donated a wicked sofa to really finish it off. So with a good clean up, I start getting everything in place, and wow, I am absolutely thrilled with how this is coming out. Let me know in the comments, guys and girls, what do you think? Have I pulled it off? Does it look good? And like I mentioned, we found a good home for Project RS125. There's still plenty more to do in the office because I'm still using the old office at home that I've got to move a lot of the stuff over to fill the wall space up. But let's get in to the next big requirement for the new house. It's finally time to install the Swann CCTV security system. So for those of you that are old school followers, stroke subscribers to the channel will know that I unfortunately had the 92 M3 stolen off the driveway at 3-4 o'clock in the morning, whenever it was, hit the wall, and horrible experience. I really hope as not even just an enthusiast, but anyone who has something stolen never has to go through it or go through it again, because it really opens your eyes to how vulnerable you are in these sort of situations. It was something that I never thought would happen to me. But yeah, the biggest thing that I mentioned in that video that I shot was not knowing what had happened, if someone had been casing the house out, driving around, so I just had no idea because I had no CCTV. And I ended up buying an original Swann system. Really good bit of kit because you've got no subscription to it, which I hate because it's easy to do that all 5, 10, 15 pound a month, have it for 5 years and you've got a small fortune at the end of it. So I like a system that A, you don't have the subscription, and B, I still like a hardwired system because forgetting to charge batteries, pulling it down off the wall, you go on holiday or it goes flat or something like that, you're going to lose your recording footage. Now, partnered up with Swann for this, absolutely thrilled because the first system was fantastic and this now is 4K, so it should be even better quality. We've got alerts for sort of motion, which the old one did have, but this is just another level above it, reading through the specs. So yeah, let's take you on the journey of fitting CCTV. And like I say, if you want to get your house, I wouldn't say it's not going to stop someone stealing something, but I think it would make someone think twice about doing it. And you could actually see, like here where I am in a cul-de-sac, I'm going to have one pointing into the entrance. I'm going to know what cars are coming in here. But yeah, let's get this unboxed and have a look what we've got inside and start fitting the kit. Now, something I should stress right from the beginning is I'm not a Swann approved installer. So this is purely a hobbyist's approach to installing this kit. And another thing, as I mentioned in the intro, is I'm going to record the cul-de-sac, and you do need to be careful not to record into other people's property. And that's your warning. So if you're pointing your camera in someone's garden, in their private space, you can't do that. But we'll come back in a later episode on the great features of where you can actually black out sections of the recording so that you're not intruding into someone's privacy. Let's have a look through the kit then, shall we? So in this one, we've got 4 cameras. I'll come back to it in a minute, but you can actually run more than that. We've got the Ethernet cables. They are 18 meters each. So they're going to go from the camera back to the box. So wherever we put that central hub, we need to make sure all these cameras can get back to it. I mean, 18 meters is some run, unless you're in a mini mansion. I think you'll be all right. I don't know what those are yet. I assume there's something to do with the connections, potentially waterproofing them. We've got the welcome pack to read. Obviously, like most men, I haven't opened that or attempted to read it. We've got the mouse, which I know from past experience is used for the box. We've got the HDMI cable, which connects the box to your TV, which you will need if you want to view stuff back and not on your smartphone. And obviously access and setting up the camera, so it's quite important you have an old TV for that. We've got an Ethernet cable to go from the box to the router. We've got a power pack and a 3-pin plug for us in the UK now. A 2-pin plug did come with it as well, so I assume you get the same kit if you're in Europe or somewhere that's 2-pin, or maybe even America. I don't know, let me know in the comments. But yeah, let's have a look at the welcome pack and see what we've got in store for. So get yourself comfy and have a look through the welcome pack, which does have a lot of helpful tips on setting the cameras up. And it is really straightforward, as I'm going to show in the next couple of clips. Something I will stress at this stage is I'm actually going to install this not in a full-blown temporary, but because I want to put all the cables in conduit at a later date and do a really nice finished job. But at the moment, whilst the garage has still got to be built, and I'm going to be moving around with different locations, I'm just going to throw these in so I've got some CCTV on the property, and then once I'm ready and the garage is built, we can revisit this and do a really nice finished install. So essentially this is just a temporary mock-up to see how it all works. Have a look through this manual because it's going to have some nice tips and tricks in there on how to install the cameras. Another new feature to me on this setup is the camera's now got a really nice system for adjusting the angle that you want to have the lens shooting at. The old one, you had to undo a couple of screws, fiddle around, hold it in position and lock it up. And this essentially has just got one big lock nut on the back. You can wiggle it all around and you're done and ready to go. The first camera location I want is pointing at the front door. On the previous installation at my other home, I just had it on the driveway, and there were many occasions where I wondered what had been left in the porch itself. So this location will be perfect. Once you're happy with your selected location, you simply need to mark out 3 holes, as this is what's going to be then drilled and raw plugged into the brickwork. When we're going to put this big cable through for the Ethernet, there's quite a large plug on it. Now, unfortunately, I only had a 14mm SDS bit, which was big enough for the Ethernet cable, but it wasn't big enough to let the waterproof coupler slide through. So again, when I come back and revisit this, I'm going to oversize the hole so we can shove the whole waterproof connection into the garage and completely out of sight. But it's not a big problem because you can't really see it hidden up there in the trims anyway. I would always strongly recommend drilling at a slight angle to prevent any water ingress running down the cable and back into the property, and double check what's on the other side of the wall, because the last thing you want to do is go through a cable, plumbing pipework or a boiler. The next job is to actually drill the 3 mounting holes that we marked earlier for the camera itself to be secured to the wall. They do come with some raw plugs and screws, so you're going to need a 6mm SDS to make this hole in the 3 holes on the wall. And another thing to note is if you're trying to be really clean and it's going to be on show, you can actually put the big 14mm hole straight through behind the camera mount. So essentially you see no cables on show, but it is a little bit more tricky to do that, and this is certainly the easy way to do it. And like I say, we're going to revisit this again with a larger drill bit to open that hole up to the correct size so that hole plug can go into the garage. With the camera securely mounted, you now need to grab your 18mm roll of the Ethernet cable. You need to poke this in from the inside of the building to the outside where the camera is, and my top tip for this is to use a little bit of electric tape just to protect the terminals, because if you push it through you get brick dust in there. It can be a little bit messy on the actual connection itself, and it takes 2 seconds to save you some potential pain if you damage one of the terminals. With the cable safely poked through, it's now on to installing the waterproof sleeves. Now, as I guessed earlier, that's exactly what these little plastic looking couplers are. You don't really need to use these if your cameras are all going to be internally mounted, but if they are going to be open to the elements, you certainly don't want to get any water in there. So as you can see, as per the instruction manual, you just put them together, relatively straightforward. And for the time being, until we drill out that larger hole, I'm just going to clip it up in the trims on the soffit there, and it's nicely out of the way, with the final step being to now remove the clear film that's protecting the lens during transit and the installation. With the Ethernet cable from the front door camera now routed into the garage and coiled on the floor, I needed to get it over to some shelving that I'd set up in the garage where I was going to mount the whole system until the new storage area was built when the workshop was finished. So essentially, mounting the camera in the garage was a lot easier because we didn't have to do any drilling. I just need to use the 3 screws straight into the timber, run that 18mm Ethernet cable across down to where we're going to have the TV and the hub point mounted, and we're good to start some testing. With the front door camera and the garage cable now routed down to the central racking point that, as I've mentioned, I'm going to use as my temporary hub for the whole setup, it's time to start completing the installation. Essentially, the first job is to get the power bank plugged in and into the unit. With the 3-pin plugged in and the switch turned on, you should now have a green light on the top of the transformer, as can be seen here on mine. For the time being, we're going to leave the main hub in the off position, and you get our first look at those 8 potential channels. So for the time being, we're just going to plug in 2 cameras, but we've got the option to add another 6 at a later date, which is really handy for getting all angles around the property. Something that was really handy was the previous owner of the house actually left a little TV up in one of the bedrooms. Now sadly it's not a 4K TV, so it is going to limit the viewing capabilities, but for the time being this will be perfect just to check all the camera angles that I've set up in the garage and the front door. With the TV switched on, I'm pleased to confirm that it actually works. It could have been one of those situations where the previous owner actually left it in the house because it was broken. But essentially, with the TV plugged in, the HDMI in, you turn the box on the Swann system, and you should start seeing things come alive. Now give it a moment to run through its settings, and you'll go through some prompted options where you've just got to set a password, and then you'll come on to where you can start actually naming the channels, and you'll be able to visibly see what's recording. And as hopefully you can see here, even though this is a 1080p TV, then an iPhone recording it, it's actually still really good quality, and I'm absolutely thrilled with the installation, especially as this part took absolutely no time at all. We're certainly going to have a little bit more fun when I get up on the ladders and get the higher angles for the other camera locations. Bizarrely, this house has absolutely no tap points on the front. So we're going to need to go into the utility cupboard and take a supply from what would also feed the washing machine. Now, I don't know whether this is the ideal solution, but long term I would like to do this out of copper and get it all properly lagged for the winter. But for the time being, this will allow me to actually have a hose out the front to wash the cars and eventually pressure wash the driveway. With the hole made to the outside, again, just like with the cameras drilling at an angle so the water can't run back into the property, it was now time to look at the bits I'd picked up from a local tool station. And that included a splitter so that we had a take off for the washing machine and the hose, and a new hose, some adapters and some clips to hold all the hose pipe in place. Again, I do want to do this in copper long term, but this might actually serve as a good test bed to actually make sure I've got suitable pressure washer feed here, because we are going to have obviously a requirement for good pressure to the unit. With the cold water supply now into the garage, it was time to introduce to you my new tool, my Giraffe pressure washer, and I have wanted one of these for some time. Now, I'm sure I'm not alone. The frustration of getting the pressure washer out, unwinding all the hose, setting it all up is just long. This process now is going to be so streamlined, and let me show you how. Those that follow me on Instagram will see that I did a quick reel on the whole unboxing and setting up of the pressure washer unit itself. And like I've said, I'm just fed up with hoses being all over the place, and the advantage of this is it all is one compact unit on the wall. So you get loads of stuff in the box as I'm showing here. You've got the actual unit, you've got this lance, you've got the snow foam gun, everything you need realistically to get up and get going. And there were a few people who commented on the post saying, does this thing actually deliver the pressure you need for car washing? And I would say more than ample, as you'll see here, even using their own brand snow foam gun. The first job is getting the wall bracket in place, as this is going to be what holds the unit to the wall itself. Now for me, I'm keeping it at the back of the garage because thankfully we've got enough hose to get all the way through to the front and beyond. So once my position has been selected, you need to get the raw plugs out the packaging, find an SDS drill or certainly a hammer drill that can go through brick or concrete, whatever you're going to mount it to, and then you'll need a 12mm drill bit, which will be required for the 4 holes to hold the bracket to the wall itself. The kit does come with a supply hose, which is actually really good because it's got a gauze filter in it, which would go straight onto a hose pipe fitment. But unfortunately, because I've got a quick release hose pipe fitment, I will have to go straight onto the unit, eliminating the gauze filter, which is not ideal. So personally, I would stick with the gauze filter because it will give your unit the best protection. But it wasn't going to work for me in this situation to show you guys. So essentially we can start winding the hose out. Now you have got 30 meters on this thing, which gets well past to the top of my driveway, allowing for really easy access to cleaning the cars. Hopefully a good demonstration on the new Giraffe pressure washer. Absolutely thrilled with the kit. If I was to have any negatives or complaints to say, it'd probably be that it's a little bit louder than my old one that I used to use, but I think that's more to do with the size of the motor because it has got a pump through 30 meters of hose, but it's absolutely fantastic for ease of use and plenty of pressure, as you can hopefully see here. And the final part of the video, we talk about the most important room, and sadly it's probably going to be the last one I work on because I promised myself and the missus we'd get the house done before I dive into the garage, because you'll never get me out of here. So essentially we've got double garage, and the beauty of it is, and this is where I might need your guys' help or I'm going to have to contact a structural engineer, is I've got enough space in the eaves of the garage that I could potentially put a single phase 2-poster ramp in here, and then long term I'd have the right side as storage. I'd have hexagon lighting. I'm really tempted to go with a matte black look, really like make it very edgy in there, and then have like a modular cabinet system on the back wall. I think that'll look absolutely lovely. But yeah, any input, suggestions, especially for clearing the roof space, the loft area so to speak, so I can put a 2-poster in there, let me know in the comments. And then if we head out of the garage and round to the side, you can actually see I've got this wicked little bit of space that's not really doing a lot at all. It definitely needs a good clear out. But as you can see, there's a little pocket down the end which I'm going to try and build a small workshop for the motorbike area. Have it as my sort of dirty space, grinding, cutting, painting. As those of you saw from the Aprilia build, it gets the other bikes filthy. So yeah, that's the long-term plan. Stay tuned, and if you like this sort of content on the channel, let me know in the comments, because if this video doesn't do very well, it'll be the one and only episode on the house build.